Hi everybody, it's Mr. Spudik, and today I want to talk about creating a logo. It just came up because the Redskins, the former Washington Redskins, have just switched to the Washington football team, giving them some time to pick a new mascot. But the new logo that they have is very, very basic, and I figured it's worth kind of using that as an example to learn some stuff about Illustrator. Because what you got is you got a W, and then some of the lines have been off. But what I'd like to do is just take this logo and use it as an example. So that's what we're going to do today. So first thing is we've logged in just to look, or I'm on Google Images and I'm just looking at the logo there just to see what it looks like. And basically look at it. You got a W here. Looks like this part's a little bit more stretched out, so I can mess around with that as well. We got these little points, these little tips in the corners are pulled off. So we're going to see how to do that. And I'm not going to match up exactly the font and all that, but I just want to use this, right, as an example. If you are looking at taking any font, you could go through and find any font you like and then do these same types of techniques. So we're going to go to Illustrator, and I already have downloaded the old Redskins logo because I want to take the colors from that and match up the colors. So I have that already open, but let's create a new file. And I'm going to do just a 7x7. It really doesn't matter, especially with vectors. I'm creating a vector so I can expand it as far as I want. It would not matter. So I'm going to do 7x7 just so I have a nice square. And there we go. Okay, now we're going to start with finding a W. So I'm going to type in a W just like that. Obviously, it's not big enough. So let me start resizing it. I don't know. Let's do like 250. Not bad. Okay, we can kind of see it now. And we can tell this is definitely not the same, the letter, or the font, but it's something. So let's find a different font. If I go through here, we could go through and probably find a really good match. But honestly, I don't know. I thought that just a regular Arial, boring old Arial black seems pretty similar to what we're trying to match up with. So I'm going to select the Arial black. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I don't know. Let's see if 275 is too big. So I can just type in where you see the font. Yeah, not big enough. Let's try 300. Whatever. Good enough for what we need to do. So there we go. We have our W right there. Now, what I want you to understand is this too. And this is going back to our idea of raster versus vector. Fonts are basically vector images. They're vector files because a font can be expanded to any size and it still is going to still be clean. You're still going to have the lines. If a font was a raster, we would enlarge it and we'd start seeing all the pixels around it and it would get a little grainy, right? Because resolution can't be infinite. So this is actually or any kind of font is really a vector. Now, it's not something that you could just say, hey, here's my vector image and open up a font. But it is something that I want you to start thinking about differences between raster and vector. This is a vector because you can enlarge it infinitely big. All right, so there we go. Now that I have this, what I want to do is I want to turn this into a path. And so I'm going to go to my type, and I am going to create outlines. Doesn't look like I did anything, right? Doesn't look like anything's changed. However, this is what we're going to do. We're going to change our view from what we have right now to outline. Okay? And now you see these points and these lines going on. Okay? You can see these little points all around. All right? So I can click on it and I can tell those are lines. There's a little outline box right there. Tell me that's the whole object. It's just a little bounding box for everything. But now I have a bunch of lines. If I ever want to change back, I would just go back to preview, and there's a change, okay? or using CPU view. Okay, there's what it looks like. But let's go outline. Okay, so there's my outline right there. So the first thing I want to do is I want to point out some things. I had selection tool right now. So selection tool, I click and it takes the whole selection and I can move it around wherever I need to go. Okay, I could stretch it out. I could make it bigger if I want to. And there we go. Now with my selection tool, I can just stretch things out and it's going to stretch the whole thing. All right, I can stretch out a little bit more, just like that. But what if I go to direct select tool? So not the selection tool that is the black inside, but the direct select tool, which is white inside. Now I'm given these points right here. Okay, and now if I move one thing, so if I select just that point and move it, look what happens. The whole thing, or the whole thing stays except for that point, and the lines stay connected to it. So I'm going to do undo for that. Now, looking at the new Washington football team logo, it looks like this is maybe a little bit more stretched out than that, right? Just a little bit. The distance from here to there is a little fatter than the distance from here to there. So let's do that real quick. So let's look at our, let's just select these two dots. Look what I've selected. I've selected just this line here and these two dots. Now, let's see if I drag it over. That red line is showing that it's still staying in line with before. I drag it over and I made it a little bit thicker. All I did was drag these 2 points, okay? And notice that everything else stayed in place, but this W now on the left-hand side is just a little bit thicker. All right, now let's do the next thing. Let's get these little points, these corners that we see right here. So we're going to use the direct selection tool on this as well. So I'm going to go to my point, and this is what I want to do. I'm going to get my view and look at my rulers. Okay, so I have rulers set. So I hit view and then ruler. Oh, I didn't click it. Let's try it again. So I'm going to go down to from view, rulers, and show rulers. Now, if I go on this ruler right here, and I click and drag down, I'm going to get a line, just like that. Okay? That is not a line to draw. That's not anything other than a little guide. And the reason I'm drawing that line is I'm trying to line up just how high up this is. I know it's going to be kind of an equal distance. Maybe, it's close enough, whatever. Maybe this is a little bit lower than that one, but I'm going to pretend they're both in the same height. And I have this little line just to get that point, okay, and just to kind of keep it even. So let's go back to it. So this is what we're going to do. On this point here, now I have my selection tool. I select my W, and now I'm going to go and click on the pen tool. And I'm going to get my pen tool somewhere close to this line right there. Now, if I go right on it, I get this star, okay? But I want you to notice just below that pen tool, if I go a little bit away, I get a plus sign. And that plus is going to add a new point to this line, to this vector, okay? I move away somewhere else, and I get that star, meaning it's just going to create something new, separate from the W. But if I go on the line, and not directly on this ruler line, but right about there, I can get this little plus sign, and I'm going to click plus, and I add a new anchor, okay? So I have a new little anchor here. Now, I'm going to do the same thing on this other part. So the W is there, and there it's stretched. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to just use this ruler just to line it up a little bit. I have my plus sign, and I click the plus sign. There. Okay. What that extra anchor did was now, if I pull this point, this little anchor there, this line, the rest of the line is going to stay still. Okay. If I didn't do it, when I pulled it, it would have pulled just like I did before, the whole thing. But this anchor is now staying there. And when I pull this other point, look what happens. The anchor stays still. Okay, so I'm going to pull it about there. How about? Good enough? All right, now what about this one? This one is a little bit less out. Again, I'm not really trying to copy it. I just want to use it as an example. But maybe this one won't go out as far, so I'm just going to pull it out like that. The red line is keeping it in line. And there we go. Okay. Not bad so far. Yeah, I'll take it. Good enough. Okay. Now, one real quick thing. Let's talk about colors since we're here. So I have the points the way I want it. I have my selection tool, but my colors are not matching up. So let's go back first to view and say preview. There it is. Okay, looks a little better now. All I'm doing is giving you a preview, but again, vectors work with lines. So we can, every now and then, if we need to check our lines, we can go back to outline. So let's go to our preview. And now let's check this color. So here's what I'm going to do. And I'm sure there's a fancier way to do this. But I am going to steal the color from the Redskins logo, this yellow in there. The way I'm going to do it is this. I am going to go to my Redskins logo and I'm going to get this eyedropper. And the eyedropper is a way to select the color. And I'm just going to select this yellow. Okay, I want you to keep an eye on this little box right here when I do it. I select that yellow in there, and there, that yellow foreground color's changed. Okay, there it is right there. Now, when I pick this color, there is a number letter value. It's called a hex value. It's this little pound sign or hashtag, and this is the value for that color. So I'm taking that color and turning it into a number so that I can keep that same exact color. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to highlight it, Command or Control C to copy it, hit OK, and now I'm going to go to this one here and I'm going to double click the black. Okay, I'm going to double click if I can there, that black, and I am going to get that color again. So I'm going to change it in here if I need to, and I'm going to paste it there. All right, now, that way if I go back to my selection here and I click on the color, all right, there it is right there, all right, or I can do the eyedropper as well to get it, okay, and it'll probably have my old color in there, but wherever we're going to go, it's going to be there, okay, so there it is right there, boom, okay. So there we go. Now, if I want to get the red, I could do the same thing with the red, create a rectangle and all that, and you can do that on your own. But there are all the steps, and really play around with it, create another logo. Find a nice little font, find your, or use your, say, last initial, find a font you want to use, and make something funky. Don't forget, you have all these kinds of fonts in here. Whatever you have, all right? Use a new font if you like. Go through here, go through it, pick it, whatever letter S, okay, match it. So I'm going to do the letter S and do the same thing again. Again, it was going to be using type, okay. You have to get this selection tool first, select that letter. Then you're going to go to type, and then from there you're going to say create outlines and do it again. All right, play around with it and submit it when you're done.